Okay, then we are on. Okay, welcome everyone to the second day of the second edition of the Nordic TV Week, hosted by us in Norigin Media. So for those of you that have not attended this before, so Nordic TV Week is basically a short sessions of 1 hour where we present leading TV and streaming services here from the Nordics and Europe in general. This Nordic TV Week is coming from Northern Waves. That is a one-day conference that we have been arranging for a few years, but due to COVID, we have not been able to do it in the last couple of years. So that's why we have this as a, let's say, like a replacement for that. We have a very good show yesterday. For those of you who did not attend, this will be made available later on YouTube and on our website. So we had Telenor, we had the public broadcasters from Denmark, the DR, and from Sweden, SVT. Myself, I am Espen. I work at Norigin Media, and I'm the host of today. You can see the agenda behind me here. We will start with Maja Sørensen Raunbak from TV2. So she will take us through how they have implemented design and design thinking throughout the organization in TV2. Followed by Jonas Gustafsson from Allente, that will tell us about their exciting story about the establishment of Allente and also how they look at the future. We will have a quick demo from Norigin Media. So Adriaan from our side, he will show us one of the OTT streaming services here in locally in Norway. Before we end the show today with Stu Jones from ITV, that will talk about how ITV has reshaped their ITV Hub AVOD service over the last few years. Some practicalities. This is a Zoom webinar, meaning that it's only the panelists that are allowed to talk. But we do encourage you to ask questions. So use the Q&A function in Zoom down on the bar below. So you type in questions there. I will try to ask all the questions to the panelists after each session. If we're not able to get through all questions, we will try to answer them in writing, so you can keep an eye on the Q&A session. Okay, and with that, we can start the show. So I will start with introducing TV2 Denmark. So TV2 Denmark, commercial broadcaster from Denmark. They've been around since 1986. Today we will learn more about their OTT subscription service, TV2 Play. So TV2 Play is one of the biggest OTT services in Denmark with over 700,000 subscribers. And from TV2, we have Maja Sørensen Raunbak. So Maja holds a master in corporate communication and organizational development. She's been working in public media tech for the last 12 years. And before joining TV2, she worked 7 years in Danske Radio, DR, which is the public broadcaster in Denmark. Currently, she is heading experience design, and she's ramping up a team of 16 UX and UI designers and counting. So with that, I will hand over to you, Maja.
Thank you, Espen, and hi everybody, and thank you for joining. I'll just share my screen with you. Yeah. Yeah, so thanks for joining. And today I'd like to share a short look into how we at TV2 are working on moving up the design maturity ladder. And I'd be focusing on our streaming product, TV2 Play. And first, I just want to do a super short stop at a couple of media brands that has shaped my view and my work with designing public service products. So I was born the year that MTV launched, and growing up, MTV played a really big role as a cultural foundation for a lot of my social life, and the music really created a strong social coherence. And for me, that's also the power and the essence of public service television, right? To be able to create coherence and common grounds in an otherwise divided society. So for me, it was a no-brainer to join DR back in 2009, and then in 5 years ago, I joined TV2, which also has the commercial aspect on top of the public service part. Yeah, and for TV2, so our streaming product is TV2 Play, and Espen, you mentioned some of the stats. So we have 700,000 subscribers. Our content profile centers around entertainment, sports, news, and kids. And we have around 10 plus live channels and more than 10,000 pieces of content. And the viewing is quite balanced between live TV and on demand. So moving on to the design maturity ladder, back in 2018, we gathered all of the UXs and designers in one team, and we started doing a redesign together with the PM and the tech teams. And we had some quite heavy limitations there. So the biggest one was no new features, because there was a huge platform rewrite going on at the same time. So we had to focus on the visual design. And Play at that time had a quite an uneven look and feel. The smart TVs were white, for example, and the other platforms were black and cinematic. The menu structure wasn't the same on all platforms, and neither was the metadata on the content. So the experience was quite fragmented across the platforms. So our goal was to create alignment and to create the foundation for a design system that could have shared components for the platforms moving forward. And then now I'll jump to 2021. I'd say we're doing a redefine of Play. So Play was born as a catch-up service, and now we're moving into content aggregation. We do content partnerships. For example, we've been doing with Hey You, American reality, and also with children's content. And the latest collaboration is with Paramount Plus, actually, which will be launching in July. So that's super exciting, and we'll be doing this to support our strategy, which is TV2 Play for all, because we want to have and to be able to offer content to every Dane that's relevant for them. So there's also a shift in focus towards live TV from mainly being a video on demand service. We want to boost our live viewing, and sports is a really big driver there for us, and also live events that can gather all of the Danes across all ages. We're also moving away from this one-size-fits-all service to doing a more personalized service and to create more personalized experiences. And design-wise, we are moving from focusing on mainly utility and usability, features and usability, and we're moving towards more desirability and creating appealing products and experiences. And I'll get back to that in just a bit, because if we see the maturity ladder towards design and working with design, the way I see it, on the basic level, you work with design as mainly surface. And that was what we did in 2018. So we worked with what you could see, right? We worked with UI components and the spacing and the cropping. But we also work with design as the structure, so the information structure and the hierarchy there. And the next level is to work with design as your process and how you solve problems, the user and business problems. And at the last step there, you have really integrated design thinking and become a mature design thinking organization. So back in 2018, I'd say we were around here. We were working with design as mainly surface, but also structure. And now in 21, we have there comes the animation. We're working with design as a process. We're working with solving problems with empathy, and we're doing a lot of user testing now. And then, of course, the goal is to move towards being this full-on mature design organization. And some of the stuff we're doing to get us there is to really focus on design operations, design systems, continuous discovery, and also to have a shared vision of the experience across all of the areas in TV2 that work with creating the user experiences. And I just want to do a look into our model, because we've developed this experience model. And back in 2018, I'd say we were working with experience and design on utility and usability level. So do we have the right features? Are they easy enough to use? And now we've moved towards also creating the products appealing to you. So they look good. Are they premium? Do they have a premium look and feel? Is there good transitions? And does all of the look and feel in the product and the way we solve the user needs, does it create a coherent experience across all of the touch points? And what we've really, it might be basic, but what we're really facing now is that every area of our organization contributes to creating these shared experiences, and every area of the organization holds a bit and a touch point across the user's journey. So what we really need to do there is to work together to create appealing and desirable product, and these are branded experiences that we call the TV2 experience. And that really brings us back to MTV, or brings us back to the fact that creating engaging experiences, that is not a one-man band discipline. It's a huge collaboration exercise. And for us, it's across PM, engineering, operations, content, editorial, publishing, marketing, commercial, customer service. I could go on. So it really takes a village and the ability and willingness to work together across the whole organization. And so also to have these shared goals and a shared vision of where we're heading. So a mantra for us going forward is that together we improve the experience, and we do it sprint by sprint. So yeah, that was a short run through. Do reach out if you have the same interest in creating experiences and working with customer journeys across all of the touch points. I'm mainly a LinkedIn kind of person, so you can find me there, or do hit me with an email. So yeah, thanks. Back to you, Espen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maja. Thanks a lot. That's interesting to hear. So I have a couple of questions here. So I think I know that it's like you said, it's important to get the entire organization part of this, and to work with design. And I mean, experience for myself working with engineering team is not necessarily what's on top of their mind and head. How do you organize yourself, and how does kind of design fits into the organization?
Yeah. Well, I think for me, we're kind of on a journey there also, because in 2018, the UX and designers were decentralized. So they were placed in different development teams. And then in 2018, we gathered them in one team. So we centralized all of the designers to create the alignment across the visual expression of the design. And now we're actually moving like these sinus curves, right? So now we're actually moving back to doing the decentralized organization, where we have UX and designers working in product teams. So it's quite new for us to establish product teams with a focus on, we have a team that's focusing on the sports experience, and another team that's focusing on the commercial experience, all of the purchase area. So we're actually doing some good experiments there in figuring out how do we get the product teams to work together, because they need the autonomy to move fast, but also we still need the alignment. So that's why we're creating design systems and design operations, so that we have both the stability within the product teams and the flexibility, but at the same time we need speed and alignment. So it's very much a balancing act there.
Yeah, no, yeah. I can imagine it's not easy. And another question is more related to design itself. So I know that also working in like app developments, there's like a constant debate regarding whether you should go with the native design of the different platforms like the Apple devices, Android devices, or you should do a custom design and more kind of promote your brand and or have the same experience across devices? What's TV2 take on this question?
Yeah, that's a good question also that we've been discussing definitely a lot. I think we always, we kind of see, so what's the market standard here? What does the user expect? Because if they're used to having a specific Apple TV standards, we don't want to go away from that, because that's what the user expects for us, that the navigation part, for example. So they want an Apple TV to work like they know from other apps. So we follow the conventions within the platforms. And that's also, I think, a balance could be the header here, right? So we always try to figure out what's the balance between having a strong a branded experience, but at the same time, we really want to remove friction and make it as easy for the user to engage with our products. So we always figure out, is there anything we get? Also, do we get, transition or anything that's built in native? Could we use that in a faster way to create an experience, or do we need to build our own? So we really always look at, it's the balancing act there. There's no easy answer here either way. No. But yeah, we always look at what is the market standard, what does the user expect, and what would be, the easiest or the most effortless way for us to create the most impact in the experience.
Okay, thanks. Okay, one last question here from the audience. So, what are your key points for attracting your customers in relation to content discoverability? Good swim lanes, navigation in UX, personalized trailers, good content, of course.
That's such a big question. We're actually doing, we're looking into creating a new navigation right now. And we're really also figuring out here what are one of the challenges that we have is that we've mainly used our navigation before as the value proposition. So we kind of use the navigation to say we have news, sports, kids, but then we have a whole lot of other categories that aren't really visible towards the user. So we're actually figuring out, because what our user testing shows is that the user really navigates within categories. That's where their mental model is, probably created by Netflix and other big players, right? So we're really looking into how can we meet the expectations and how can we show the variety of the content that we have and also use our navigation there. But definitely also trailers is very high on my list in terms of what I'd like to do. I'd also like to create a more, you can look forward to seeing this content. That's always what the linear TV has been really good at. And we want to adopt that to the streaming service also. So definitely, video just says a lot more than stills and metadata does, right? So we really want to be able to move that forward.
Okay, thank you, Maja. So there's a couple of more questions there. If you can go in and answer, we will move on now with the next on the program, which is Allente. So Allente, it may be a new name to some. Obviously, people in the industry will know about it, but it's essentially like a newly formed pay TV giant here in the Nordics. So Allente comes out of the merger from between Viasat and Canal Digital that happened last year. And if I'm not mistaken, they were actually founded on this day 1 year ago, or maybe on the 5th. I'm not sure. But Allente, I mean, there's these two satellite pay TV operators that have joined forces. So they obviously offer set-top box services with satellite distribution. They also have a streaming proposition that's available on smart TVs and Apple TVs, Chromecast, and so on. And from Allente today, we have Jonas Gustafsson that's going to talk about their journey of forming Allente. So Jonas joined Allente as CFO and head of operations when they formed the company last year as a result of the merger. Before that, he's been the CEO of Viasat. He's also been the CEO of NENT Group in Sweden, and he's essentially have a very central role in MTG and NENT since 2015. Before that, he was in management consulting, holds a Master of Science in Industrial Engineering and Management from KTH in Stockholm. So with that, I will hand over to you, Jonas.
Thanks a lot, Espen, and thanks for that introduction. The thinking, as Espen mentioned, was to talk a bit about Allente, who might be a new name to quite a few of you, and talk a bit about the journey that we've started to embark on, but also the plans that we do have ahead. So, as Espen said up front, Allente is really the result of the merger between Viasat and Canal Digital. And I think you were correctly confused talking about the 5th or the 6th May. The 5th May was actually the day when we closed the deal, whereas the 6th May, which is a year ago today, was actually day one. So today is actually our first anniversary at Allente. But I think if you just take a step back, the two companies, Viasat and Canal Digital, are probably quite known sort of consumer brands to the Nordic audience, and they've been around in the pay TV space for the last 30 years. But Allente is really sort of what came together a year ago. And just reflecting on that a year ago is quite interesting in this case, because it basically means that we've been working on teams or working digitally, transforming and merging the company over the last year, a quite special sort of situation to be in a merger. But if I just take you through a quick sort of introduction to Allente. So we have a pan-Nordic presence. We have availability in Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Finland. The company is headquartered out of Stockholm and Oslo. So we have a sort of a two-folded setup. Offering traditional satellite TV. We offer streaming, also having a broadband TV offering in the Swedish market, and with two owners. So the company is owned through a joint venture setup from Nent Group and from Telenor. If you just look at the size of the company, to put this in perspective, we do have plus 1.1 million customers across the Nordics, Norway and Sweden being the largest markets. Annual revenues in 2020 of 7 billion SEK, and profits, EBITDA in this case, of more than 1.1 billion SEK. So a quite scalable player with a quite sort of broad product proposition across the Nordics. And why did we merge? The deal between Viasat and Canal Digital, everyone who's been following the industry for the last decades have heard about the potential deal between Viasat and Canal Digital. And when I just Googled, I remember Googling a year ago, trying to just look at the history. I think the first indications and the first speculations of merging Canal Digital and Viasat actually went back to sort of late 1990s. They tried in 2002, they tried in 2005. There were rumors about the deal in 2012. There were rumors about the deal in 2015. But this time, sort of all the stars managed to be aligned, and we could find a way and a setup and a structure to make the two companies come together. And why do you merge? It's essentially three key areas that we would sort of focus on. Number one is that in a business and in a pay TV business today, it is highly competitive. So size and scale really matters. And size and scale gives us opportunities to focus, to invest, and sort of have a much more stringent approach to our efforts. The second dimension is that the merger creates substantial synergies. So this is really, to a large extent, a synergy case. We are expecting to generate more than 650 million SEK per year of profits or additional synergies. So adding a lot of profits to our business today, which allows us to invest going forward. And one of the reasons is also to the fact that collaboration will allow us to get the scale and to invest even more into the customer experiences. And it's fair to say as well that the business, or especially the satellite business that we've been running for the last decades in Canal Digital and Viasat, it's sort of a business under structural decline, right? More and more customers are moving towards streaming. More and more customers have been changing technology towards broadband TV. So creating and merging really sort of puts us in a different position. So those really the sort of the merger rationale, or the reason to actually combining. If we then look back and look at the last year, we've done quite tremendous amount of work. A lot of it has been internal sort of preparations. We have set the new operating model. We've set the new organizational structure. We started to learn and pick the best. And this has been a quite fantastic opportunity, because me personally, coming from the Viasat side, finally have been able to understand and have been able to have dialogues with our sort of former main competitor, Canal Digital. So it's been a lot of sort of best practice sharing in everything from how to optimize and set up the best customer service operations to how to find the best sales approach in various channels. So it's been a lot of sort of best practice sharing and learning across the last year. We've started to execute on all those synergy programs that we mentioned, started to migrate to essentially drive both the revenue synergies and the cost synergies to essentially sort of take the company to the next level. But it's also fair to say that I think even though we've been a part of Allente, and it was quite sort of, we hit the market a year ago with a decision to continue to operate with the Canal Digital brand and the Viasat brand. But over the last month, in mid-April, we also went to the market with a new brand and did our sort of massive brand launch. I've been talking a bit about synergies, and one of the key synergies is the only synergy that I actually can explain to my own mother and make her understand. We've been running a satellite business, and Canal Digital has had one satellite, and Viasat Consumer has had another satellite. Having two satellites is quite expensive. So one of the key projects that we've had, and sort of one of the main sort of lighthouse projects that we've been having, is the fact that we're migrating towards one satellite. One satellite is cheaper than two satellites, and it's essentially a massive operational undertaking. So in order to be able to only use one satellite, you basically need to turn the dish that you typically have on the roof. So we are now, as we speak, running a project called Project Dish Turn, as you can see on the slide, where we essentially go out and turn 320,000 dishes across the Nordics. We're going to do that in a year, and everyone who can run the numbers realizes that on a daily basis, we're actually visiting and turning more than 1,000 dishes per day. So a big one going on now as we speak. If we then look ahead and sort of think about our priorities and where to focus, we're still in that transformation phase where we really want to sort of extract the synergies, ensure that we get the right setup for the future. We're optimizing our entire model in order to ensure that we get ready for the next step. And I say the next step because with the scale that we're currently having, With the footprint that we're currently having, and with the fact that we have 1.1 million customers, so reaching roughly 10% of all the households in the Nordics, we have great opportunities to pursue various growth opportunities. We've had a broadband business or a broadband TV business in Sweden that we're now actively looking into how we can scale into the other geographies. We're looking into new sort of more future-proof product propositions. We're looking into OTT and other alternatives. And that's really going to be the focus going forward. We're fully aware about the fact that our core business, the satellite business, it is being challenged. It is under structural decline, but we have a massive opportunity, and that opportunity is now to renew the entire sort of future of Allente. So with that said, I think it's fair to say that the sort of the traditional business over time will be gradually shifted from sort of traditional DTH and satellite towards newer product proposition. With that said, I'll try to wrap it up and hand it back to you, Espen, to also share a few questions that the audience might have.
Thanks a lot, Jonas. Thanks for sharing this. Yeah, we have a few questions here. I think first I can a question from my side. You have these two very well recognized brands, and everybody in the Nordics know about these brands. And can you explain a bit why you decided to kind of start from scratch and create a complete new brand?
It's a very good question. I think I would basically have sort of a threefold answer. The first one is driven by the fact that, per your point, both Viasat and Canal Digital come with a very long heritage and a strong sort of brand awareness. That sort of brand awareness is typically sort of tilted towards the traditional satellite business. In order for us to renew the company going forward and also explore new opportunities, it is good to sort of have a fresh start with a new brand. So that's number one. Number two is merging two companies also is sort of a challenge from an organizational perspective, and getting everyone on board and sort of on the same deck is so much easier under one sort of brand. With one brand, one common culture, one set of priorities, and so on and so forth. And then the third one is a bit more boring, but there are certain sort of licensing related questions to the current owners. So we decided that it's much better to actually do a fresh start, and that fresh start became Allente.
Okay, thanks. Makes sense. Okay, a question here from the audience. It's a twofold question, I guess. The question is, will there be like an app certification program for your set-top box? And should the TV industry focus more on apps?
So could you please repeat the first question?
If there will be like an Allente app certification program, so to get apps, third-party apps on your set-top boxes. As I understand, it was like previously Canal Digital had something like that, and Viasat had similar.
And exactly. Yes, the current boxes, or the most modern boxes that we do have, would allow for third-party apps, and we're planning to launch a new set-top box going forward, and external or third-party apps will be an essential and important component of that. And the second question is, yes, I mean, if you look at, if you think about our part of the TV value chain being a distributor, I think, what's happening in the market with more and more content providers going directly to consumers, and the entire sort of emergence of more and more digital players, it is quite obvious, at least from our perspective as a distributor, you need to take on a role being an aggregator, and being a service aggregator is definitely something that we believe is a sort of a highly attractive path, and allowing for more apps. I definitely think that's the way to go, and that is really sort of the priority and the focus going forward for Allente.
Okay, thank you, Jonas. I think that was all we have time for, but thanks a lot. And I must say, it's quite impressive what you have achieved on this short time, with the new brand launched and everything in place. So so congratulations with that, and best of luck in the future.
Thanks. We look forward to year 2 as well.
Okay, we will move on to the program now. So now we actually have we have plan of a demo of an international service. We have been testing the Hulu service from the US for the last few weeks in our labs, and we were quite excited to show that to you guys today. But unfortunately, because of VPN blocking and issues, basically Hulu got onto us and understood that we could not. We were not allowed to use that service in Norway. So so then we have to choose another service. We chose a service we know very well at Norigin Media, and we have today the honor of presenting the Strim OTT service from here from Norway. So Strim is a service made out from Riks TV. So Riks TV being the DTT pay TV operator in Norway. They obviously have seen that DTT is declining, and also they want to give a good offer to users not wanting to have an antenna on the roof. So they launched Strim as I guess it's like a skinny bundle, how to call it, service 2 years ago. So it's got a lot of linear channels, a full lineup of linear channels. You can choose packages, and you go down as low as 129 NOK per month. It's available on all popular platforms, of course, as an OTT streaming service should be. And they've actually just rebranded, so you will see a completely fresh new design of the Strim app today. Presenting the Strim app, we have our own Adriaan Botha that will do it. Adriaan, he's a rising star in Norigin Media. He started as a QA tester for us a few years back, and now he is a product and project manager, and obviously also involved in marketing activities such as this. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Adriaan.
Thank you, Espen. It's a very nice introduction. I'll remember that next time. Yeah, so I'll be demoing the Strim application. As you can see here, I'm doing it on Riks TV's proprietary Android TV box. Comes with its own fancy remote control. I'll get into that a bit later on though. So what we have here is the Strim app. It's like Espen said, it's a skinny bundle compared to the Riks TV app. But more or less, it's got the same UI structure. It's just a different color scheme and styling. At the top, we have a start page. As I start navigating down, you'll see that there is a promoted content hero item. We can flick through that, navigate, and see that there's loads of different content from NRK, from HBO, Viaplay, and then so they just promote 4 assets at the moment. Underneath that, we'll have a continue watching section. It's pretty standard across the board these days. And then we've got the home page that has the live channel, like a live channel swim lane here, with the option to open the TV guide. This is quite important for Riks TV and for Strim because linear content is still a big part of their business. So here I can have a quick skim, I can see what's on the different channels currently, and how much time I have to watch that. But I'll get into the TV page a bit later on. Then, as I start scrolling down, we've just got swim lanes with more content promoted, basically for different genre types, different times of year, etc. Like we've seen before, that there's a lot of swim lanes, a lot of time and effort goes into content discovery and making that as easy as possible for the user, and that's what's happening here. And we'll see more of that actually on the TV page. So Here we've got that same lane, we've got the TV guide, but underneath it we've got catch-up content. There's a lot of channels, a lot of providers, so what they've made quite easy, instead of having to scroll through the entire page, if I open here, select the like let's say the channel content provider selector, you can see that if I pick one of them, it will open all the catch-up content from that channel. So it makes it a lot easier for me to actually start seeing what we have, what I can select from that, if I know that there's a specific channel that I want to use and to watch content from. I don't have to navigate all the way down the page to see that. If I press back, I'll go back to the TV page, and there I'll have that channel row again, like I said. For me, for my generation, I kind of know what I want, and I know what I want now, and that's why I'll predominantly use this channel selector. But if I'm like my dad, I want to go to the TV guide, I want to plan my week out, see what's going on, and that's where I can open the PG here. It's very data dense, but it's also very quick and navigable. So I know for a fact that they've put a lot of effort into this, especially on the Riks TV one application, where there's a lot of channels. But here we can see it's very, it's performant, it's very responsive. As soon as I press the right button, it will navigate to that next item. What I'll do now is I'll show you how the player looks. So if I open this channel and I want to play this content immediately, it'll play from the live position. But as you can see, there is a little toast that appeared. While that toast is open, if I press the middle button on the remote control, it will play the program from the beginning. But don't worry, I still have the option of doing that, because on the Riks TV remote control, there is a watch from beginning button, which means that I can, as soon as I press that, it will skip to the start of that program, so I won't miss anything. It'll be, I won't get any spoilers, I can just watch it from the beginning there. What they've also done is they don't have, let's say, standard play controls with the rewind and fast forward button. They have, they just use the left and right arrow on the forward navigation pad. So if I press, for example, the left arrow, it will start rewinding through that content if I missed just a certain, like a small aspect of it. Or I can, once again, like I said, skip through the channel. If I press that OK button in the middle, it will pause, it will play that content. But then what's most impressive for me is actually the channel zapping. A lot of people that watch live TV, they're used to pressing the P+, P- button. But this remote control doesn't have that. What it does allow me though is if I press the up and down buttons, I can actually see a channel, and I can select the channel based on what is currently playing on that. It will start that channel from the beginning once again, from the live position once again, but I can skip to the beginning if I want to by pressing that OK button. Then a quick run through the rest of the application. If we look at the top menu, we've got category pages for series content, for film content, and for kids content. But one last thing I actually wanted to touch on here was app hopping. So as we know that they've got a lot of content from different providers, and sometimes those providers want you to actually use their application. So as we can see, we've got content here from Viaplay. If I select that content from Viaplay, it will take me to the details page. It will say, do I want to watch that content in the Viaplay application? I'll press OK, and then that will open Viaplay, and it'll open the content directly. Then that will start playing in the Viaplay application. So there is a direct integration there where we can easily just watch that content. They've done the same for a couple of other providers that they have here, and that's quite seamless, and it works quite well. As long as you have a Viaplay account, there should not be a problem. So that's all I have today. Thank you very much, and back to you, Espen.
Thank you a lot, Adriaan. So we will just move on in the program here. The last item here on the agenda, we have ITV from the UK. So ITV, I'm sure you're aware, it's a huge TV network in the UK. They offer free-to-air TV channels and programming locally in UK and the different regions. Today, we will learn more about their ITV Hub product propositions. And they have two parts of that: is an AVOD service and a subscription-based Hub Plus. We will know more about the AVOD part of this. The service is quite big in the UK. It's available on all known platforms, in addition to these the FreeSat and the UView, these open platforms they have in the UK, which are quite popular. And from ITV, we have Stu Jones, and Stuart, he is the head of product at ITV Hub. He has over 20 years of experience building products and established strategy for different companies across a wide range of industry, on working in online product development. So with that, I will hand over to you, Stu.
Hey, Espen, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Good start. Hi, everyone. I'm actually in the office today for only the second time in 18 months. So if you can hear people talking in the background, that's why. I haven't got a full house. Okay, let me share my screen and I'll get going. Okay. Sorry, Espen, just a delay. Let's try that again. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, hi everyone. I'm Stuart Jones. I'm the head of product for ITV Hub and Hub Plus in the UK. And for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to give you an overview around the last 2.5 years of what we've been working on at ITV and really talk about 3 distinct phases. But first of all, I wanted to give you an oversight as to what ITV Hub is. I'm aware that some of you might not be aware of what we do over here. So we launched back in 2008, and we are an online advertising video on demand service. We're predominantly available in the UK, and we give access to simulcast ITV content. So for the last 12 years or so, what we've really been trying to do is get people who've missed content on linear station to watch the following day or within a 30-day window. We are moving away from that, and it's something I'll touch about later on in this presentation. But really what we are is a catch-up service predominantly at the moment based in the UK, and there's a $3.99 offer we make, which is if you pay that amount of money, you can get ad-free services, so you can watch catch-up content without the ads. Some top-level figures, so we've got 30 million registered users. A third of the UK population comes to the ITV Hub every year and consumes some form of content. We're available on 30 different types of platforms, and to round off the 30 trends, we have been downloaded over 30 million times. What I'm going to talk about here now then is what we've been doing over the last couple of years. So we really started a research and insight piece about 2.5 years ago. And what we determined from that was that the experience we were seeing on our pages didn't really help us in any way. We weren't seen as a modern digital platform. Our key metrics weren't really being helped in any way by the experience that we were offering across different platforms. And so what we decided to do was take a design-led process to address some of the consumer needs. The conversation has really changed and moved on in the last 2.5 years. And so what we were originally expecting to be really almost like a coat of paint on top of what we've been working on turned into something quite different. And I'm going to talk about that in 3 distinct stages. So firstly is the redesign, where I'll talk about aesthetic and user journey. I'll talk about the replatforming process that we've been through from an engineering capacity, and then talk about how we've had to repurpose on the way. As I mentioned before, with the redesign, we were trying to create that modern digital feel. And so we needed to really make sure that we could accommodate our new brand across all of our different platforms. And so this is what we were starting from. Again, it was a very undynamic, a very static page. And we really wanted to try and bring to life what we had on, which was great content. We had great imagery, and we had the depth of content that we weren't really showing through this homepage. So what we have now rolled out across several of our platforms is a much more enriched experience, and there's some key differentiators. Obviously, we've inverted the color. We also introduced a notion of different components. So we've got obviously the big hero image there. We've got a second hero image as well now, and a third, but we've also introduced components such as featured. So we're trying to make standout individual elements on the homepage to really grab the consumer attention. The biggest change that we introduced was really horizontal scroll. So the ability to be able to really scroll through content. And what this really gave us was much more of a depth. Originally, if I just go back a page, actually, we were looking at around 26 pieces of content on this homepage, which is barely anything compared to our back catalogue. And now we've got in excess of 126 with just the redesigned components and the ability to be able to scroll through different types of genres as well. The idea of doing a redesign was relatively simplistic. What we had to try and accommodate, though, was could our platform accommodate this experience? And so the engineering teams looked at what we were proposing to do and said, actually, you know what, there could be an aspect of just sort of coating this to make it look different. But the reality is that you're going to need to really accommodate the functionality, and we're going to have to try and look at rebuilding what we've already currently got. So it was an opportunity to build out for the future. It was an opportunity to accommodate the likes of tracking, compliance, and verification that we didn't previously have. And so what, again, we did was we moved from what we termed internally as really a brick. It was very static. It was there was no dynamic elements. The APIs weren't particularly well understood. And so we were kind of being driven by legacy. And what we wanted to do was really break this into more modular components. And the modularization of this really allowed us then to start building out experiences as opposed to building out pages. Another big engineering move was really to go from our existing technology and to move to React. It standardized what we were doing from an engineering perspective across the board. It allowed us to build shared components, and it really allowed us to start talking again in a way which we weren't able to do before, which was much more about dynamic content. Just moving forward to talk about atomic design. So one aspect we wanted to really address at the start of this was how can we have a shared communication and a shared language between ourselves and engineering teams? And when I say ourselves, I'm talking more about the consumer experience side. And so what we settled on was the notion of atomic design. And it's a practiced and a kind of well-documented state in which you can share and collaborate on, both from a kind of user experience and a product side, but with engineering teams as well. And the idea is really that you normalize two disciplines, and the normalization comes from a commonly shared language. So previously we were talking about pages as the kind of de facto, we want this page to be built, but we'd moved to a world where it was much more about the modular design and really breaking things down into its individual component. Now, if you take a component like a shelf or a rail or a horizontal scroll, each of those is really comprised of various different organisms and molecules and atoms. So for example, an atom could be a button. A molecule could be the text that sits on top of that atom. So all of a sudden you've got the molecule, two atoms together, forming this experience. And what you can then do is build together these experiences that create templates. And this language really helped us to talk about what we wanted to build for the future, as opposed just to replicate what we've currently already got. So that was an important discipline that we introduced as we went through this. Now, as I'm sure you're all aware, 2.5 years is a long time in the video on demand space. And one thing we couldn't do was ignore the changes of the business, ignore the changes of the consumer in this time. And so what we wanted to be able to do was really be flexible when it came down to strategy. And so the business decided that we wanted to really shift away from a catch-up service being our de facto brand for ITV Hub to being much more about a discovery service. In real terms, this means rather than a consumer thinking, I missed that piece of content, therefore I'll go to the hub to watch it, thinking of the hub as a destination to go and discover content. So you're sat at home on a Saturday night. We wanted people to think about the ITV Hub in terms of, I'm going to go to this platform to try and find something to consume and watch. And this is a big shift because it meant a significant amount of content being dropped on us in a very short amount of time. And so really then to try and repurpose the hub, rather than go back to the drawing board and redesign exactly what we've been doing for the last 18 months or so, was to really take advantage of trying to use metadata tagging and imagery to convey a different user story. And that's something that was ongoing at the moment. So really to just sort of recap on those last 3 disciplines before I talk about measures and future foundations, the redesign was all about improving the user journey, the modernized aesthetic, and using atomic design as a centralized language. The replatform was around moving to React. It was about building richer APIs, and something I've not really talked about is the flexibility of a content management tool. So we wanted to give editors the ability to be able to make decisions rather than that have to be a conversation with an engineer. And so we have been trying to not just educate internally on what this can actually mean, but also to build out the functionality to give to editors who are then able to go and make decisions themselves. all this coupled in with our programmatic look at personalization. So really trying to take the personalized aspects of the hub and using the likes of machine learning and collaborative filtering to augment the experience alongside editorial content as well. And finally, the repurpose. So we wanted to be seen as that discovery destination and to accommodate content. Finally, 2 quick slides on measure and foundation. To measure the success of this, what we didn't want to do was just rely heavily on the quantitative measure. If we did that, we'd be beholden to content and the success of content. So what's really important for us and for all of us in the VOD space is to try and find those metrics that potentially sit outside of the popularity of content consumption and really see if you are making a tangible difference to your experience. So the qualitative measures of customer research, so revisit back again those people who didn't perceive us as being a modern digital platform, have they changed their opinion? But then using the likes of the Net Promoter Score to really say, is this something that you would refer to somebody? Do you see this as a destination for discovery? So these are the top level questions that we are trying to ask people. And we were also obviously taking signals from the likes of our app review ratings. They were already very good. So to actually shift to a modern digital platform in light of them being very good was something that we needed to be very careful that we weren't going to be at detriment and damage that experience. And you might ask, why did we change the experience if it was already very good? We were thinking about the future and the long-term brand representation. On that topic as well, it wasn't just the external customer, it was the internal customer. The brand perception of the hub internally at ITV is very important. If people can see us as being a best-in-class, world-class service, there's more likelihood we'll get additional content. They'll see us as a prime destination to showcase new content. And that's something that we needed to make sure that people and stakeholders internally were enamored with the application that we were building. So there's another key measure of success there as well. And finally, the maintenance of success and trying to continue on with this journey. What we did was, I won't go through this side in too much great detail, but the redesign was a standalone project at ITV. It had a standalone team. What we wanted to try and do was obviously disseminate this into cross-functional user experience teams. So we wanted to move away from outputs, and outputs being the likes of build the new version of the hub, to more outcome-driven measures, increase consumption, increase the breadth of content or breadth of consumption. These are the measures that we wanted to try and increase. You know, we've got a big e-commerce model with with Hub Plus. We wanted to make sure that we really got in the metrics and objectives inside of these cross-functional teams so they could use the foundation of the rebuild to really go after the objectives they were trying to do. So it's not just about project, it's about trying to shift away from output and make sure that you kind of focus on the outcome as well that you want to go through. And that's everything from me. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Stu. That's really interesting, and to see what you have put together there. And unfortunately, we won't have time for questions now. We are running out of time, but thank you so much for joining. As a large part of the program, I will hand it over to Adriaan from the CEO of Norigin Media that will have the closing remarks. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Espen. Norigin Media created the Northern Waves TV conference to bring this entire industry together. What we have with the silver lining along with this virus is that we also created Nordic TV Week, the online events. This helps me claim the world's shortest TV conference. Whether you're a technology person, a product or commercial person, I think it's always great to know where we all fit in within this one TV streaming industry. The tagline for this event is therefore, the business of TV tech. I'd like to thank, of course, all of our speakers, Maja, Jonas, and Stuart, for helping us present absolutely brilliant presentations, and our own very Adriaan. A huge thank you to my colleagues for running an impeccable show, Espen for hosting, and Steph for putting on this show like an absolute professional. Well, we will come back in the autumn. We would love to have your feedback. We would love to have your critique, and I would love to have your compliments. In 2022, Norigin Media would hope that all of you would love to come to Oslo to visit us for the absolutely brilliant real conference in person. Until then, have a good afternoon. Thank you very much.